a Playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I am so glad you're here, and I have a very fun episode for you. Okay, I sound like I'm out of breath, but I literally just took a drink of a McDonald's Fountain Diet Coke. Okay, I'm gonna do some ASMR. I hope it works. I've never done ASMR purposely on the podcast, but there's no time to start like the present. But I've just been so into Fountain Diet Coke lately, more than usual. But okay, let's stick to the sketch. I'm talking Bachelor 27, Bachelor Nation in general, with Jackie and Stephanie from She's All Batch, which is a Bachelor gossip podcast. They recap the episodes as well as talk about everything that's going on behind the scenes. And I love their content, love the memes, love the TikToks, love the interviews that they do with alum. I say this in the episode, but they seem to get all of the tea, like all the things we want to know about. None of the, kind of placating interviews that we get on TV or with other Bachelor alums. They really get to the root of the show. And I think a lot of people that have been kind of like misconstrued on the show have been on their podcast and have cleared like a lot of stuff up about Bachelor with those girls. So I was very excited to talk Bachelor with Jackie and Stephanie. We also talk about Selena Gomez possibly dating Zayn Malik, and then we talk about Harry Styles and Emily Ratajkowski, the makeout scene around the world. I also was listening to Mess Magnets, Kirsten McInnes and Sasha Joseph's podcast the other day. And Kirsten was talking to Shannon from Fluently Forward because Sasha was away. And she was talking about how the Selena Gomez and Drew Taggart kissing picture was literally photoshopped. And I had no idea. And that's on media literacy. So apparently that was just another girl that looked like Selena. And I was hook, line, and sinker. Wouldn't have like batted a fucking eye. I think I even mentioned it in this episode. Wouldn't have batted an eye if I wasn't listening to that episode of Mess Magnet. So God bless. And then one more pop culture thing that I want to mention before we talk about Patreon, because it's just very on brand for this podcast. But Gwyneth Paltrow was on trial for a ski incident this past week. She's been turning looks. There's been lots of sound bites from the trial. There's just been a lot of chit chat and discourse on the internet. But the one ready to be petty, like stamp of approval a la Girl Boss Town, was when she walked out of the courtroom after getting her $1 and lawyers' fees, attorney fees paid for by Mr. or Dr. Terry Sullivan. She whispers in his ear, like leans down on her way to the court and whispers, "I wish you well." And it really brought me back to our Be Well days of like 2020. But it actually sent chills down my spine. It was incredible. So petty. 10 out of 10. We'll definitely have to take notes from Miss Gwyneth Paltrow. Over on the Patreon this week, I have Diana True Knox. We are going to be talking about Kardashian stuff. I want to do a little bit of a deep dive on like Stephanie Shepard, Makeup by Mario, Chris Appleton, Makeup by Ariel, the whole gang. So we're going to talk about Kardashian staff. And then the week after that, I have Nora from State of the Union Pod on to talk about my favorite TV show, or at least top 5 TV shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm so excited. We're going to talk about the cultural impact of that show and what it's done for pop culture. And this week I had Christina Flack, who is a celebrity makeup artist, but I started fixating and obsessing about Dramageddon 2.0, which was the incident that happened in 2019 and 2020 between mainly Tati Westbrook, Shane Dawson, James Charles, and Jeffree Star. And I had Cam, from what I will say, on that episode to do a little bit of an explainer, because that was a good time in my life, let me tell you. This week, I want to shout out Katya from New Zealand, all the way over on the other side of the world. Thank you so much for being a Petty Betty, one of my favorite patrons. You contribute so much to this community. I love our little DMs. We got to meet at one of the, I think, December trivia nights, and you were just the sweetest pea. So thank you so much for being an RTBP listener. And Megan S., another amazing patron. I appreciate you so much. And I'm so glad that I'm on this wild ride with you. I'm wishing you well, but in the best, least petty way possible. And before we get to today's episode, I want to tell you about the podcast, Right Answers Mostly. It's hosted by Tess and Claire, two hilarious people who are taking every Monday to teach you about things you didn't learn in history class, but the things that you actually really wanted to learn. So they cover all of the juiciest events in history and pop culture, like Studio 54, the Titanic, Kris Jenner, the Olsen twins, literally all of the fixations I know you've had, I've had, but instead of spending all night by yourself looking these up on Wiki, you can listen to their show. It's super fun, taps into old Hollywood, childhood nostalgia, and is currently highlighting influential women. And I think you'll really enjoy the show. So check out Right Answers Mostly wherever you find podcasts, and follow them now at Right Answers Mostly. Okay, friends, let's get to today's show. Here's my conversation with Stephanie and Jackie. I'm back with two very special guests, Stephanie Parker and Jackie Maroney from She's All Batch. Stephanie and Jackie, how are you?
Good. So good. How are you? We're excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Especially, I can't believe that we're recording on the Bachelor 27 finale week.
Yes, a lot to discuss.
I know, we're heading into like the latter half. How are you both feeling about post finale?
What an interesting loaded question.
Tired.
But definitely tired. The thing is, I think tired is the best way to sum it up, because I don't know if you watched the finale or not, but it was 3 hours long. I would say nothing particularly juicy, scandalous, surprising happened. It kind of went exactly how we expected it was going to go. But they dragged it out for 3 hours with all these different fluff segments. Now let's cut to Sean Lowe from years ago, and let's cut to this. And then the parts we actually wanted to watch, like the few genuine, authentic conversations, Jesse Palmer, the host, would be like, all right, guys, let's speed this up. We got to get to the next commercial break. And it's just like, they have no understanding of what we actually want to see in these finales, and it's getting frustrating.
Yeah, to say the least, because I feel like that's classic Bachelor. Like, that's... So to be super transparent, I was a Bachelor girly until maybe 2021, and I watched a little bit of 2022 and 2023. The thing about being in the Bachelor Nation for 20 years is you're never like out of it, even if you don't watch the show. Like, I could tell you all the storylines that happened. You're just like sucked in. But I feel like what you're saying about the finale is like exactly what's happening in Bachelor all the time. They like extend the shows, they do 2 nights, everything like that, but then the authentic conversations we only get a few minutes of, which I think is why shows like Love is Blind, Love Island, Are You the One, etc. are kind of thriving, and The Bachelor seems antiquated.
I would agree. I think those shows are doing a way better job of showing like real, authentic drama, as opposed to this like manufactured, ooh, the villains said this, and we're all kind of too smart for that at this point. But that's why our
Yeah.
podcast is so great. Like you said, you know, you've been watching for years and years and you don't watch anymore, but you still feel wrapped up in it. Because we recap the show, but we also talk about just like Bachelor Nation news and catching up with these people and like what's going on between people who were on the show years ago. So luckily,
Same thing.
oh my God, we're on the same page.
Which is the fun part, because like I'm still having fun, but watching the show was not fun.
No, people will say to me like, "Oh, I really want to listen to the podcast, but like I haven't watched the last season." I'm like, it doesn't matter. I mean, if there's an occasional news story about someone from the last season, sure, you may need to know a little bit, but like for the most part, we're talking about what's happening in real life with these people. So it's like the show outside the show, which is a lot more fun. I mean,
so much
Paradise
fun.
wasn't nearly as fun as Victoria and Greg in Italy being spotted, you know, touring Rome.
Of course.
So,
yes.
and like, I don't even know if that stuff's happening on purpose. Like, I think ABC producers are like purposely making these things happen. Like, I think the Chicks in the Office spoiler that was wrong, I think was on purpose. I think like they were paid off. I mean, not literally. I don't think they actually were. But when it happened, it got everyone excited again because we're like, oh my God, something new is going to happen, something juicy, like something we didn't expect. And then it couldn't be further from the truth. So I was convinced that they paid her off.
That's so interesting. That's the stuff that I like am interested in, because when like I'm on Twitter and it's Monday nights and I'm looking at what tweets are getting like the most engagement, it's always Chicks in the Office. Like they do have like a corner of like Bachelor Nation that's like really interesting. So like how I think the Kardashians are working with gay man with a spray tan and not skinny but not fat, I think that's totally realistic.
Oh, that's funny. You really think
that
they
they
are
would
though?
capitalize on that.
Gay man with a spray tan?
Yes. Okay, so like it's funny. Yeah, I do. And I think that people were catching on because they were singing their praises. And then I think they like were like, hey, you have to sprinkle in some like critical stuff too because people are like noticing. But that's the type of conspiracy theory we talk about.
Oh, I love it. When I was doing my mascara this morning, I was thinking about the Kylie mascara scandal. And I was like, do I believe it or not? And as I'm doing my mascara, I'm like, well, my lashes get like thicker and longer when I put my mascara on. Why are we knocking her for that? But not here to
What's the
judge.
mascara? What's the mascara scandal? I don't know about this.
Let's fill her
Okay,
in.
so you know, and this is what I'm assuming you're talking about. But when the whole Selena versus Haley and Kylie thing happened, Selena had posted a TikTok about laminating her laminating her eyebrows, and then Kylie and Haley posted pictures of like their eyes and their eyebrows, and people were like, they're making fun of her, but it was because of her new mascara and like eyeshadow launch with Kylie Cosmetics.
Yeah,
so it's like,
is that what they're
that's why
saying? That's why they were doing it and not making fun of Selena?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what you're referencing, Stephanie?
So, not exactly, but yes, I'm very in on that story as well, and like lived and breathed every single moment of it. But no, Kylie is launching Kylash, of course. April 6th is when it comes out, and people are guys, go to CVS and just get like Maybelline, please. But she posted her promos for it, and people think that she's wearing falsies. It's enhanced in the photos,
I see.
and they're comparing it to what's her face from TikTok, who went through that whole thing. What's her name?
Michaela Nagaro.
Who she really did wear falsies. That was like proven, right?
Yes, and it's so interesting because I feel like everybody knows, and maybe it's just growing up in, like, I'm 30, so throughout like my teens I was looking at magazines with mascara ads that were like totally photoshopped, like I feel like Kylie's, and there would be like tiny print at the bottom being like, this photo's enhanced. So I'm like, of course this is,
but we didn't know that as
this
kids.
is.
I was lied to my whole childhood.
True,
I didn't look at the fine print. I was like, what the hell? They have the perfect skin. I truly did. When I saw an airbrushed photo in a magazine, I thought it was real. 100%. You told me 8-year-old me knew. Like,
that's so funny. Maybe it's because I was also reading People that was like not photoshopped. Maybe I don't know.
People
I don't know. Maybe.
Why do you think people didn't Photoshop?
No, I like in like when it was like paparazzi photos. And I'm just like the comparison is so different that I just I don't know. But okay. Yeah, so I guess 2 mascara scandals for Miss Kylie Jenner.
Got it.
Are you caught up, Jackie?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you for informing me. These are the things I need to know.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the finale just because, and Bachelor 27 in general. So there was the big fantasy suite debacle where Zach said he wasn't going to sleep with anybody. And then he slept with Gabby. And then the final, I guess, 3 ceremony happened. And it came out that he had slept with her. What did you think about that whole scandal?
Yeah, I mean, I think the common consensus is, well, 2 things. Common consensus is like that's definitely something that I think if Zach was planning on doing that should have kept private between all the, well, first off, if his decision going into it was I don't want to sleep with anyone, that should have been a private conversation. And then if him and Gabby changed their mind, something spontaneous happened, whatever it is, we weren't there obviously. Outing her like that and not speaking with her prior about like if they were going to tell people about their sex life, I think was definitely a very bad move, especially because we found out in the finale that they had a private conversation being like, oh, this just stays between us, right? Okay, got it. And then literally the next day he shows up at her door with cameras. So that's horrible.
10 times worse. I mean, it was bad enough watching it, and then he goes back to her room. She is very taken back that he's showing up with cameras to talk about such a private thing, and to know on top of that the night before she's like, I'm brushing my teeth and you came up behind me and hugged me and said this is just between us, which has anyone else thought about, was that before or after they had sex? I'm assuming
after, right?
I defo think after.
That's even worse.
Yeah,
like if it's not like I guess it had to have been after, because if it was before, it's like I guess they just talked about having sex. Like, I don't know what it would have been.
I kind of think, like, before is worse, though, because it kind of feels, like, coercive. Like,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
I said on our podcast that, like, it almost felt like he was, like, luring her into it. Whereas, for some reason, after that Fantasy Suite episode aired, everyone was against Gabby, saying she, like, was some manipulator and tricked him into bed. Like, it takes 2 to tango, and... Yeah.
Totally. So, okay, it was really reminiscent though, like Zach's participation, and I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt because, like,
why?
Yeah, no need. But like, it kind of reminded me of Juan Pablo, where he talks to Claire after they had sex in the ocean, and it kind of reminded me that like maybe he was convinced by producers to like speak about it with her.
Oh, 100%. I think he was convinced by producers to speak about it with her. I just don't, I still don't think that makes it right. And I think like, Zach, you're still a grown adult man who can be like, no, that's private. Like, I'm not saying that. Literally no.
If we've learned anything, we've interviewed over like 50, 60 people from the show. If we've learned anything is that yes, producers are extremely manipulative, but you are still a human who has a voice.
No.
And I mean, but that's not to say that it's not scary, because you sign this contract and you're like, oh my gosh, if like I get on one of their bad sides, they can completely ruin me. And they make that clear to you. So you kind of are toying with like, I want to be a good person, but also I don't want them to destroy my reputation. So I actually see both sides. I think what Zach did was absolutely wrong and not okay, but yeah, I can kind of see both sides of it.
And I want to also clarify, same with Juan Pablo, but like I agree, because it's like I feel like they'd be like, don't bite the hand that feeds you, or like, do you want the villain edit? Do you want the super boring like season, because it's been really like people aren't gonna like this, or like, oh, the whole show is hinging on this season because like our declining viewership. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I also want to believe that I'd be the good person to be like, this is inappropriate, this is like personal and stuff, but I actually don't think I like physically could.
No, they make it so really scary. You know what I bet they told him is that, because I've heard them tell other people this in the past for things that I'm just like, that's so crazy. Why did you think this was a good idea? They probably told him that, no, this will be so good for Gabby and this is going to be good because then she'll get a Bachelorette edit and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like they get in your head thinking like
Little
you're actually
do
doing
they
this person
know.
a favor when you're actually totally
Yes.
exposing them and breaking their confidence and ruining their life.
Thinking about it
Totally.
now, though, too, I could see if he's like, look, in his head, I'm going to pick Katie. I have to tell her. Like, I do not feel right moving forward with Katie. He could have not filmed with Gabby, told Katie
Yep.
I was intimate with someone. It's then not outing Gabby. He gets it off his chest. He could tell Katie in private. And everyone kind of wins here. Because you're not
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But like the
Yeah.
whole bringing cameras to Gabby's room is where things kind of went south. Because I understand him wanting to
absolutely.
maybe be honest with the woman he's going to propose to.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But it's everything else that made it messy. And the fact that Gabby's like, I didn't know you named me until the finale, until she watched. Like,
I know. That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. Right after this rose ceremony, also the 3 finalists, so it's Katie, Ariel, and Gabby, posted pictures from the rose ceremony. Yeah, with the like 3. I feel like now I call this like Taylor Swift's Fearless hurt hands.
Oh, yeah.
As like the captions. What do you think this means? Like, is this just like, I feel like we've seen friendships between the contestants throughout the series, so is it just like them showing support, or is this like, is there a deeper meaning behind this that
Well, so I will
you
say
two
I listened to Ariel, who was the 3rd runner-up. She was on Nick Vile's podcast, and it was kind of weird because, they talked about the same thing, and she's like, yeah, it's just kind of like supporting each other's solidarity, and Nick's like, whose idea was it? And she's like, I can't say. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why can't you just say like, oh, Gabby thought it would be nice.
weird.
Oh, Katie thought it would be nice.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that kind of made me like raise my eyebrows a little bit, like, huh. But I
why not
did
just be like,
interpret
we
it.
all thought it was something cute
Yeah,
to do.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's how I thought. It
in
was just like
discussion.
them
Yeah.
show, because I think especially with this whole Gabby Katie thing, like they're really trying to pit these women against each other, and I think this was their way of
Yeah.
being like, hey, we're not going to do that. We're not going to play this game. Like, we
Yeah.
support each other. We love each other. That's
That
it.
makes
I didn't think
so
it was that
much
deep.
more-
I know, isn't that
makes it
weird that
worse
she said
than what
that?
it was. That was actually sent
Yeah.
to me a couple times, and I actually wrote back to someone, and I was like, I had no clue what people were even talking about. I'm like, what do you mean? It's just a picture of them. I didn't realize it was at the same time, same caption. And then I was like, okay, maybe it means something. But like, to me, it was very much like we support each other. No matter how we're being portrayed
Yeah.
on TV, we support each other. To say we
Yeah.
don't know, we can't say who started it. It just
I know, isn't
makes
that
it
so
seem like
weird?
it was something shady.
I know.
Like a producer or
I
something.
know that very like
It could have been, I
could be the
guess.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think Katie and Zach are still together? Like, obviously they're doing tons of press. Do you think they're a couple that will stay together for the long haul?
Can I say, I was watching a clip yesterday. I made a TikTok about it, but I took it down because I looked ugly.
Oh my god.
True story. I let it get some traction for a little bit, and then I was like, ugh,
Oh, no.
I really
You
don't
should have
like
just
how
used
I
the
look.
Bad Cats filter.
It's not on TikTok. And honestly, the filters that they were giving me on TikTok, I'm like, it is so clearly not me. That I'm like, I can't.
Glamour.
And I just was too lazy to get up and like put some makeup on. So whatever, I took it down. But anyways, the clip was the two of them on Kelly and what is it? Is it Ryan still? I don't even know who it is.
Yes.
But on one of the talk
yes.
shows, and it's the host saying, so most of the Bachelor couples usually break up, but you guys are still, and then it cuts to me and I'm like, it's literally been a day. And that's
It's literally
But I'm like, are we really praising them for being together after one day in the public eye? Like, no.
That's crazy. That's so
I
funny.
do think they
Yeah.
have what it takes to go the distance because I think they are pretty similar.
Right.
Yeah. They also, too, both live in Austin, Texas, which I think is huge.
Yes,
And
yes,
I said this
yeah.
on our podcast. I'm like, at the very least, they're going to be able to, like, date and get to know each other like a normal couple, which I think gives them a stronger chance. And neither of them has to be like, all right, who's moving across the country and, like, uprooting their whole life for this other person I met on a TV show. Like, they can both continue their normal lives and just date.
Totally.
So I think that gives them a better chance, too. Unfortunately,
Unless
on the
Zach is
show...
on Dancing with the Stars.
True, true.
I don't
But then
think
hopefully
he will.
Katie would
I don't
go
think
with him.
people we're not about, like,
I don't think so
sending
either.
hate,
Yeah.
but I truly just don't think people care to watch him on Dancing with the Stars. I would watch Gabby. Can we throw that out there?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, she'd be good, I feel like. She gives me a vibe of, like, being a good dancer.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're so right, though, because location, I feel like, is one of the leading causes of, like, bachelor couple breakups, regardless of, like, you know, all of the other stuff. But I think just, like, deciding where to live and uprooting your life and stuff when people are like, oh, we're back in the real world now, I think is huge. So we also got really big news this week that Mike Fleiss is leaving the show, which I think is really exciting. What do you two think about it?
Yeah.
I hope it's exciting. I don't know if this
It can go
means
one or two ways.
Yeah, I don't know if this means the
True.
beginning of the end or if this means the beginning of a totally new era and they're like, okay, what we've been doing hasn't been working. Let's actually make a good show.
That's such
Like,
a good
and
point.
taking tips from the Love is Blinds of the world that are doing so well. So I don't know. Reality Steve said something interesting that, like, Mike Fleiss, even though he's been the top guy at the show, he hasn't really been involved in a very long time. So it's people aren't sure how much of a difference it really will make. It's more symbolic, but
I
yeah, I
don't
don't know.
Like, ultimately, it's not like we don't want drama. If anything, I need, like, the drama. Give me the tears and give me the arguments and the fights, but make it real. What bothers me is when we interview people on She's All Batch, and they're like, oh, I wasn't crying in my limo home, so they brought up my dad who passed away. And then I started crying, and that's when they start rolling. Like, you don't have to be manipulative to that point to get the drama. Like, just put people in a room and see the drama that happens. I'm sure that the drama will happen. I mean, Zeneb and Cole, one of my favorite storylines from Love is Blind, like, I'm sure they're not pulling Zeneb aside and talking about dead family members to get her worked up. She just didn't mesh with Cole, and the fights were interesting to watch. I hope that with Mike Fleiss removed, like, maybe there could be different strategy behind how we get this type of drama.
Totally. And that's inevitably why I stopped following the show, is, like, the Frankenbiting, the dead parents, even I saw your TikTok clip of Crystal Nielsen talking about how, like, she was painted as the villain, and I think there's, like, some things definitely that, like,
Sure,
you know, are you, and then there's the edit, but you had overlaid the clip of her walking out of the door, and, like, her talking about how she, like, turned around and there's, like, cameras right there, like, and being, like, kind of forced into doing this stuff. It's hard to be a viewer nowadays, I find.
right? Because
We're too smart.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, we
yeah,
are.
yeah.
I don't know if everyone.
Yeah.
People are really.
Yes.
There are
yes.
plenty of people that still take things at face value, and it's a little scary.
I know.
They just need to tune into our podcasts. Both of ours.
Okay, seriously though, because you're totally right, because I feel like I have this conversation with all of my Bachelor friends. It's like every day I'm like, how could people still be so naive? And then it's like, because they're not listening to podcasts or reading, like, I remember I used to read Charlene's blog, like, it was my day job. Like, they're not doing that.
Right. They're just watching a show and assuming that everything that happens is 100% real.
So I think my question about kind of moving in, if we're still talking about kind of Crystal or the villain edit or whatever, why do you think people still, and I think I know the answer, but I feel like it's more nuanced than this, but why do you think people still, like, die to be on the show, even though, they could know that, like, some of their childhood trauma or whatever could be exploited, they could be painted as the villain, etc., and just the hardships. I think that's the other thing. It's like, we know about the Frankenbiting and the editing and stuff like that, but we also know about, like, Caitlyn losing her hair and, like, people being, like, so stressed out or, like, not trusting friends and, like, all of the tough times that these contestants go through. Why are people still dying to be on the show?
I think anyone from the show would say that after they did it, looking back, they didn't realize how hard it would be. I think a lot of people don't know the extent of how bad it's going to be. I do think for some people it's worth the gamble, because you may end up being an Ashley Iaconetti or an Ali Fedotowsky
Right.
who can make a lifelong career out of this. And like for a lot of people, I'm assuming when you apply for the show, that's the goal. But you also may end up being a lot of these other people that don't get that. But it's worth rolling the dice just to see, because it's that good of an outcome. I think to some people it may appear like that good of an outcome.
That's so true.
Totally. I totally agree.
Really?
Yeah, I think it seems like the easy way to get a bunch of followers and that blue check mark. And then, there have been like the Ashley Iaconettis, Caitlin Bristow, Nick Viall, people who have been able to make these amazing careers, making millions of dollars doing Bachelor stuff. And I think, that is worth the risk. Although now we're seeing people are coming off the show with not such big followings.
Yes.
So that's also very interesting too, how I think the bubble has popped and they've kind of missed that golden era of where you could really get a huge amount of followers post show, even if you weren't that memorable of a character. So it's interesting. I'm like, why don't you guys go try Love is Blind or something? But I think with The Bachelor, the thing, it's easy because they're always casting 30 new people every few months. So there's a lot of turnover. So I just think there's more opportunity to get on The Bachelor versus Love is Blind. They don't do that as often. A show that's like Vanderpump Rules, they stick with the same cast for most of it and bring only one or two new people in every time. So The Bachelor, there's just so much turnover. It's like, I think maybe the easiest reality show to get on. I don't know if that's true, but
well, we have a whole Patreon episode about the casting process, and it's a lengthy bitch. Like it is
totally.
There's so much that goes into it, and really sick, twisted stuff too, like with the psychologist and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me, because I think you brought up a good point, Jackie, about like the followers, because we see all of the like the final three and Zach. I don't think any of them have hit like 500K.
Nope.
Or like it's very low. Whereas like when we were seeing like Hannah Brown come off the season or whatever, she was hitting like 1 million, 2 million, which is so wild. And yeah, it's interesting now how it just doesn't, I guess give you the same clout. But you're right though about the turnover. Like I feel like it's like Survivor and Big Brother and Bachelor, like they have like thousands of cast members by this point.
I think another good point though is that Instagram is also declining, and if that's where we're like measuring the benchmark of like if you're
success,
you still have the same clout, it's not really a fair comparison because a lot of people are no longer even using Instagram as their main platform. So Hannah Brown gained 1 million followers, but maybe people are supporting Katie and Zach in another way. I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. But also it's like I feel like Bachelor fans would mostly use Instagram, maybe, but the audience. But you're right that it's not the most used platform anymore.
Wasn't it not even on the top 10? Ironically, I saw a TikTok about it, but it said that, it said like Instagram apparently, I don't know if this is 100% correct, but for 2023 or something, Instagram isn't even on the top 10 social media platforms or top 10 most used apps. Maybe it was apps.
Yeah.
And TikTok was first, but it wasn't even on top 10.
Wild.
That's wild to me.
That's crazy. So like you two have mentioned, you interview a lot of past Bachelor contestants. Is there anything that, like, I feel like a lot of the stuff that they talk about is shocking, but what was the biggest like revelation that you've had from a past guest or a really nice guest that shocked you, or anything that you want to share?
There's like so many.
I know.
We get asked this question,
We've had so many like jaw-dropping moments. I really do feel that.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, what do you think about? We
can name some, but like it's just takes a second to rack the brain.
Oh, totally. I think like the other part is what do you think about your podcast that people spill so much about? Because like, well, seriously though, because I think a lot of people say things on your show that they could say on Nick Viall's show or something like that, like someone in Bachelor Nation. I really feel like you two get the tea.
Oh my
I think we do a good
God.
job of making
Thank
people
you.
feel comfortable. And like, I think we're
Yeah.
related. Like, I do think we are just two normal girls. So I think we're relatable in that way. And we come from a place of like genuinely caring about people's answers because we've watched the show for so long. So I think that's an aspect of it too. Like, we're not just rattling off a list of questions. Like, if someone says something that's interesting and kind of like sparks, oh wait, tell me more about that, we're kind of like digging as we're navigating the interview with people. But yeah, I think people just feel comfortable with us and can tell that we like genuinely do care about them as people.
And we do. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I keep in touch with a lot of people we end up interviewing.
Yeah.
And I have their numbers and I'm friends with them, or, you know, friends to a friendly extent where, like, I care about them as people. I will say, when I was looking up the Zach and Katie clips that I was talking about earlier, I watched part of a GMA one, and Lara Spencer's like, so have you guys seen each other since you got engaged? Like, did you get to see each other? And they're like, oh yeah, we've had secret hidings. And she's like, oh, really? And it's like,
I
how
know.
many times do we have to be told that to know that that's a thing? And like, Lara Spencer, you are not surprised by that. And I just think there's something refreshing about people that are like actually fans. When I'm asking a question, it's because I've watched it and actually have that question. I interviewed Michael Stagliano, and I'm like, I've had this question for 10 years. Please tell me what really
Yeah.
happened behind blah, blah, blah. And I think
Yes.
people can feel that, and it makes them feel comfortable, and they want to go down memory lane, and we're just two fans that are asking questions, but we have this podcast that people listen to. So I think like people are surprised that we get the tea, but I don't know. I think we're probably less intimidating than Good Morning America asking like these super softball questions.
I know.
Like Lara Spencer's
I know,
not going to
'cause
ask what we ask. She can't.
Seriously, it's so frustrating also that is the type of interview that most people watch as Bachelor fans, because it's like, we saw the Ari and Becca breakup where they saw each other. And like we heard about the wigs that like fucking, was it Susie and Clayton or
Everyone
like
wears wigs. It's like,
yeah,
this isn't shocking, GMA.
I know. Or like, was it Caitlyn and Shaw? Like, I don't know, but it's like, it's really tough for this type of show to have such two kind of distinct audiences. It's like you're either on one side where you like know the inner workings, or like one side where you like completely have no idea.
It's so funny you say that, because I feel like a lot of times in normal life, like just socially, I'll be meeting new people and be like, oh yeah, I have a podcast about The Bachelor. Oh great, I watch The Bachelor. And we get to talking, and it's very interesting more often than not how like not on the same page I am with the person who's just like a casual fan, because they would be like, oh yeah, like what do you think about Crystal? That was so mean. I'm like, you don't think she actually
She's
like
a bitch.
said that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's all this behind the
Yeah.
scenes things, and like the average viewer doesn't, which is
Doesn't,
crazy.
yeah.
And these aren't like my mom's friends. Like, these are people my age that are still like just watching it very surface level at face value. I'm shocked by the amount of times this happens where I'm like, oh no, we don't watch this the same way. This is not.
We have to
the
remind
same.
ourselves that too on the podcast. I know there have been some instances where we've debated like, oh, do we cover this? Oh no, everyone already knows this. And then we decide to do it. And then it ends up being like the story that everyone's talking about from the podcast. And I'm like, oh, you guys, people are not as into it, or as their life isn't centered around this world. So we know everything that's going on.
I know.
But the average viewer is like, oh my God, I can't believe he didn't choose Gabby. And they're just like, that's where it ends. And I'm like, okay, well, you're in for a treat. There's a lot more than that.
Yeah, and literally that's like story of my life with pop culture, because it's like, okay, let's move on. I feel like I chose two couples because I like, you know, dating, Bachelor, felt like it was like in your wheelhouse, but like this is the same with Rada and Harry Styles, because I feel like most people are like, oh my God, cute new couple, but I like other people are like, what could this mean, and like what's the deeper meaning, what's the PR of this relationship? So what were your reactions when you saw Emily Ratajkowski and Harry Styles making out against a car in Tokyo?
Wasn't she just making out with Pete Davidson against a wall in like some hallway? I just feel like I honestly I like kind of just kept moving on with my day, because until they're like on a red carpet together, really hard launching a relationship, I don't know how serious I'm taking it. What do you think?
Totally. I mean, I think they're like two of the most beautiful humans on our planet. So I'm like, whether this is a fake PR relationship or whether you guys were just having a moment and want to make out, go off. I'm here for it. I feel like Emrata very much is in her single girl era because she, was just with Pete Davidson, now she's with Harry Styles, and I support her in that. So yeah, I guess if they're in a PR relationship, like what would that be promoting? Like, is that kind of the question of why them being seen together is like beneficial to both of them? They're hot.
Yeah, and like sometimes I don't even think like it's promoting something in particular. I think it's just like promotion of themselves. Like,
Totally.
yeah, I think like Harry Styles has had some kind of, he's caught some like strays, I feel like, with like the Olivia Wilde situation. He had the speech at the Grammys where he was like, people like me don't win awards like this. And we're like, no, everybody like you wins awards like this. So there's like a few just like moments where I feel like I don't think, obviously he was never like canceled or anything, but I feel like his ratings, his approval ratings, like, you know, went down a few percentages. And I feel like sometimes people are seen together just, you know, to like boost that back up. And I feel like both of you mentioned, Emily Ratajkowski is like definitely dating in the public, which is really interesting. Turn of events after she dated Pete Davidson, who I feel like does this all the time. But I don't know, maybe people just like don't care about like a random hookup. Maybe they're like, oh, I want this to be like a real relationship, and if it's not working for me. I don't know what that is, but I don't think it was positively received.
Oh, it wasn't? Them being together?
I don't know. I feel like people are like, oh, they're both super hot, but I feel like people are like, okay, Emily, we've seen this.
But maybe she just wanted to make
like
out.
Clout chasing.
With
Maybe
Harry
they
Styles.
really just were making out, which that could be always.
I mean, I always say this about like bachelor couples too, that like two things can be true at the same time. And I think it's always like, because with bachelor couples, it's always like, oh, were they on the show like for the wrong reasons and they just want the Instagram clout, or are they really in love? And I'm like, you can go on a TV show knowing it's a TV show and all the benefits and perks that come with it, and still end up like finding someone who you're like, oh no, we actually like do get along and I do love this person, and then go on to have, you know, a happy relationship. So I do think all of these things can be true at the same time. I think it can be like Emrata seeing Harry Styles seeing Emrata and being like, oh, you are a very famous hot person that's going to make me more famous if we make out. So like, let's do that. But they could also enjoy each other's company and be like, yeah, this was a fun little night out. Like, I think all of these things can be true, like the benefits of PR and them just like enjoying each other and having a fun time.
Totally agreed. A lot of people were also, because there was like pictures, but then there was like video of them dancing, and people were like, okay, how does Harry's like concert like dancing skills not translate to like,
oh, was he awkward?
I guess like a party. Yeah, it was like so bad. I don't know if either of you have seen the video footage, but it's like, it's kind of like a, you know, step, like it's cringe.
Aww.
Just stick to the pictures if you haven't seen the video, because it's actually kind of devastating. I've been really enjoying on TikToks the clips of people like posting him, you know, dancing, being like, I feel like a sex symbol in his concerts, and then like the like absolute like
that's so funny.
dancing.
Wait, I need to look, because like I've seen compilations of him dancing when he's on stage, and it's been put to Style by Taylor Swift, and like it's like a hot compilation. I'm like, damn, like get it. Like he's like, he looks great. So I'm interested to see him like not looking great.
Yeah, it might burst your bubble though. So
maybe I shouldn't look.
Yeah, but I'm really like, I would actually like to see more from this couple. Like it might be one of the things like they're just hanging out or whatever, or a one-time thing, but I would actually be very interested in seeing more from them. So
me too.
I hope we get more. The next couple I wanted to chat about was Selena and Zayn. Okay, so they were spotted in Soho kissing on a date last week. News broke when a restaurant host, I guess at the restaurant that they were at, texted her friend, and then she leaked the messages. But we don't have any pictures or anything, so I'm still like kind of holding out hope that this isn't true. What do you think about Selena possibly dating Zayn?
I also am like, show me the proof, show me the video evidence. Like, I'll believe it when I see it, because I just find it so hard to believe that we're going off of just a hostess texting her friend and that text coming out. But I'm like, you're telling me Selena and Zayn walked into a restaurant, and it says in the TikTok, like, hand in hand making out, and nobody was like, let me snap a pic of this. Like, that to me is
Or paparazzi.
crazy. It doesn't seem like they were in a back room, or, like, especially if this girl's a hostess. That means they walked up to the front of the restaurant, said, hi, table for two, please, and, like, went to their table. They weren't sneaking through a back restaurant.
Gomez.
So I'm like, and nobody saw them. Nobody has a picture of this out of this whole restaurant.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe TikTok girl.
I know. I like kind of, especially after the Drew Taggart thing where we like saw them bowling and like kissing or whatever. I'm like, I don't even know if this is true. But maybe it's true because we don't have the pictures. Maybe there was like, maybe they were escorted with a bodyguard or something like that. Like, you know how they like flash their flashlights to, like, stop the pictures, or like they have an umbrella or something like that.
I just guess maybe more people would have seen, and like even if they didn't get the picture, why isn't someone else who was at the restaurant coming out on TikTok being like, no, I was there, it was this like, we also don't even know what restaurant they crossed it out. So I'm like,
wait, why are you anti if it were true though? Am I missing something? Did Zayn do something?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not like super up on the Zayn Malik like storyline because he used to date Gigi Hadid. They have a kid together. There was like rumors that he was like aggressive and like pushed his mom and like maybe was like a little bit aggressive.
Pushed Yolanda, right? Gigi's mom.
Yes, thanks. Gigi's mom, and then like was getting into like lots of fights and maybe like some drug use and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I'm not like, I don't want to also say that that's like for sure because I'm not like, I don't follow Zayn like I follow Selena or Harry Styles or something like that.
See, my initial take was like, oh, if she was spotted out with a cute boy, like that's good because she's been through kind of the ringer lately with everything that's been going on. It's a nice little like distraction, but not if he's like not a good guy. But insert any guy there, sure.
I know, because they would be a very like aesthetically like cute couple. But yeah, I don't know if he's like the best guy. But then I also like, I know a lot of racism has played into the like type of headlines that he gets, so I don't want to like be definitive if I don't know like what I'm talking about. So also the Hadids are like nut.
Wait, since you're the expert though on the topic of Selena, do you think that Hailey and Justin are like gonna make it forever?
No, but I'm like a big Jelena girl. So I
but she shouldn't go back to him.
No, she shouldn't. They were extremely toxic together. I don't think that they worked at all, but there's something about their relationship. I think it's the like one true love, young love thing. Selena and I are the same age, so I feel like I grew up just like, you know, experiencing that with her. I don't think that they're in for the long haul. Like, so Justin just canceled his tour. He sold his masters for $200 million. So people are saying he's like gearing up to retire. So I just think it's tough. I feel like that's tough to be in a relationship when someone's going through these like big changes and these tough times, regardless if you're, you know, 30 or 60 and, you know, your partner's retiring or whatever. Like, I just feel like it's tough to get through these big life events. And I don't know if they have the skill and the foundation, like a strong foundation to get through it, like maybe other couples do. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week, and then we'll wrap up with This Week in Petty. So this is the part of the show where our guests nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Do you want to start, Jackie? Who are you nominating this week?
I can start. I am nominating the man of the moment, Mr. Tom Sandoval, because he was spotted by TMZ and was kind of questioned about the whole Scandoval for the first time. And so TMZ is like tracking him down. He's like walking to his car out of a strip mall or something. And basically, you know, they're questioning. They're like, oh, do you wish you could have done things differently? Would you change things? All this stuff. And all he had to say was, yeah, man, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. And I'm like, you have had so long to think of a nice, respectable, like PR, good response. And all you have to say is, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020, man. I just was like, that is absurd. And it made me so mad.
And then I loved when he was like, to the TMZ paparazzo, that he's like, do you know what hindsight means? It's like when you look back at something.
Yeah.
It was so
He
weird.
like doesn't know what the phrase means.
Yeah. And like hindsight's 2020. Like, what does that even mean? That he
Nothing. It
didn't
means
cheat on
nothing. It means nothing. He has
Ariana? Or,
nothing
like,
to say.
yeah.
That's what it was so frustrating. It's like they're like, all right, any final words, sir? And he's just like, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. It's like, right, literally, what does that mean? No one knows.
Yeah.
I guess what do
Yeah.
people want him to say though? Like I'm not as up on the scandal.
I don't know. Like, I shouldn't have been cheating. I handled it badly. I could have broken up with Ariana first before,
Yeah.
or I regret doing this with Raquel and want to be back with Ariana. Like literally anything other than hindsight's 2020, man. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if he's saving that type of stuff for the reunion. But then I'm like, also, I feel like you called the paparazzi on yourself. So then, because I'm pretty sure it's the same paparazzo that has been talking to Lala and Ariana and Raquel at the nail salon. Like, I think it's the same person. And so I'm like, I don't know. This is probably orchestrated. So, like, you should probably come up with something better to say.
Seriously.
Okay, Stephanie, who are you nominating this week?
Okay, I'm gonna nominate Gabby from Zach's season because the moment when she steps out of the limo into the mud, I think is one of the most jaw-dropping moments from the entire franchise.
Yes.
She steps into the mud and she yells at the driver and says, when Katie is next, when it really matters, do not do that to her. Like, do not make the final girl step into the mud. I made a meme about this on She's All Batch, and it's like sparking debate. People are like fighting in the comments. People are wondering if, I think it's her gut. She knew she wasn't being chosen, and she was just kind of saying like, look, the last thing I fucking needed was to step into the mud. Do not do this to the next girl that comes. People are saying, did she look in the mud and see that there weren't any footprints, and that's what told her, and that's what made her snap.
Oh.
That's some investigative journalism right there.
I can't take credit for that, but yeah, that's what people are saying.
That's so interesting. Because, then she knows she's the first, and the first person always gets dumped. So then she's like, hey, don't do this for Katie. That's so interesting. I actually don't know what it is. And, like, okay, my question also for you, because I love that she said this, and it was jaw-dropping because we don't usually get this, like, fourth wall break kind of. Why did the producers air that?
I don't know, because I feel like that's something they would normally cut, honestly.
Exactly, because I'm like, I'm sure this happens all the time where the runner-up is like, yeah, I know it's not me, but I'm like in it for the bit.
It kind of
like,
goes with her whole storyline for the past couple of weeks. Like, she also was the one that said that she knew her fantasy suite was second. Like, who's telling her? Unless someone is telling her you were second in fantasy suite week, she wouldn't have known. So I feel like, who's feeding her these things? Someone's in her head.
Yeah.
And
A producer, or do you think she's just like, because you know how they're like usually a few days apart? Do you think she just like is like count
Maybe.
like
Nikki Farrell
I don't know.
from Juan Pablo season once said something really interesting. Do you know what I'm about to say?
No, but I know Nikki.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I know of her. I know her work.
Yes, yeah. I know her work.
She was on Nick Viall's podcast a really long time ago, and it was a really good interview. And she said she knew she was going to be chosen. And Nick's like, well, how do you know? And she said, you don't get dumped at sunset. And when she was getting out of the car or the helicopter or whatever, it was the sun was setting over the water or wherever they were. And I was like, oh, God, that gives you chills. Like, how did you put that together?
Yeah. Those are the people playing 3D chess when I would be playing checkers, because I'm also a big Survivor fan. And I feel like this is people that are really into, like, the edit and the, again, the game, like, behind the game say this stuff, too, because, like, they'll be like, well, like, I knew an idol was hidden there, like a camera was following me or like something like that, or like I knew I was gonna get this because I saw this or whatever, and people are just getting hip to what actually goes on, like contestants as well. So yeah, super interesting. Okay, let's wrap up with This Week in Petty, where our guests are going to share a story that happened to them in real life that they're petty about. What are you petty about this week? Let's start again with Jackie.
Well, so this isn't so much of a story as it is an ongoing situation. I am feeling incredibly petty about dating apps in New York City, specifically Hinge. Why are they so horrible? I feel like I never match with anyone I'm interested on going on a date with, and I just think that, like, don't I deserve better than that? Like, not, this is me being petty. I'm like, I feel like I'm a cute girl and I should match with people who are cute, and I literally never do. And I don't understand. And my second part to this is Raya won't accept me. And I'm like,
I was just going to be like, you should try to get on
dude,
Raya.
I have been
That's
trying for 2 years. All of my friends who don't have big podcasts get accepted, and I don't get accepted.
Wait, why
I
do
don't
they get
get
accepted?
it.
What do they do?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, you
They
don't
get
have
the
to be
invite,
like
or-
famous to be on Raya. But I have invites from so many of my friends who are also on Raya. I don't know. I don't know why.
There's like guys
That's
in the
maybe
boardroom
more
and
of
they're
my
like,
pettiness.
no, not Jackie Maroney. She's
Like, literally all of my other friends get on it.
Yeah, that is weird because I feel like also Raya, I feel like it used to be very like, you know, like Ben Affleck.
Right,
like,
right.
was
It used
very,
to be a
like,
big thing.
A-list. Yes, like celeb. And now I feel like it is really popular amongst like reality TV people and like people adjacent.
But it
So
just
that
seems like
surprises
any of my
me.
friends, I'm like, if you're just like a hot girl, like you can get on Raya. And somehow I am not allowed on Raya. And I'm just like, and that's what I'm petty about.
Okay, I love that. Do you think like Raya though? Do you think people would be like annoying and clout chasey, or do you think because your like real life friends are on there?
I don't know.
it's
I
not
mean,
like
all of
that?
my friends that are on it have said it also sucks. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I don't know anyone who's actually met a cool person from Raya either. So,
Right.
but it's just, I feel like my chances would be better there. I don't know. It's like, why do I go on Hinge and anyone who's hearted me, I don't like.
maybe just go out in the real world.
Ugh, that's crazy stuff.
Sorry.
No, I know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough out there. I feel like also in New York, it's very much what they said back in the day on Sex and the City, like about how dating's hard. But you feel like with the density of New York, it would be.
You should just start
know,
dating the city
easier.
like Carrie Bradshaw did.
Yeah, exactly. Or your girlfriends; those are your real soulmates.
Yeah.
True. I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Stephanie, what are you petty about this week?
I am petty about trampoline parks because yesterday, or the 28th, I don't know what day is today. No, yeah, the 28th, Tuesday,
Literally neither.
not yesterday,
Yeah.
was my son's 3rd birthday. And we went to a trampoline park to celebrate. And I cracked my ankle, and I'm in an air cast.
That's how you hurt your ankle? The
Yeah, wait, I
trampoline-
didn't tell you?
I did not get the trampoline park aspect. You just said you hurt your
Yeah.
ankle.
And I'm
Wait,
like
that's-
active. I'm fine. I'm like jumping all over the walls, going great. I'm doing a good job. But my son had like a field day, like sprinting to the other side of the thing. So I'm chasing him. And my husband was there as well. And I'm just jumping, being fabulous. And all of a sudden I'm like, and then I fell. And I literally saw spots and thought I was going to throw up. And I just had to sit there. And it's like even worse. So I went yesterday. It's not broken. I knew it wasn't broken
was
because
gonna say, do you know
I
it's
can
broken?
walk on it. I can't walk on my heel. So I'm not
Right.
putting pressure on my heel. But like it's almost worse because I have the pain of a break or a sprain, but I don't have like the sympathy of it. So I still have to do things and I still have to go around and live my life. And I have a toddler. So I can't just like, they're like, do you want crutches? And I'm like, crutches would make my life harder. Like, how the fuck am I going to have crutches?
It's so much
So,
harder.
like, fuck off trampoline parks. I'm petty about you.
Yeah. I feel like I want to go to a trampoline park, but I feel like no one else could be there. Like, it would have to be like a private thing. I don't know. I just
It
feel
was
like
pretty
I
empty
couldn't-
because we went on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Also, you
Yeah,
sign your
yeah.
life away before, and it was just perfect foreshadowing for what happened. It's like, if you break your ankle, you can't sue us. I'm like, sure, signing it away.
Have you ever been to a trampoline park, Jackie?
I have not, but I wish I had been. Was it like there's trampolines on all of the floor, but also like kind of on the walls, so you can like boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, and that's what
Like
I was
that?
doing. Living the dream.
Oh, okay.
Until I
Wow,
cracked it.
you were an acrobat. Did you do a
Yeah,
flip?
I kind of feel
Can you
like
do a
that is
flip?
living
I
the
can't do a
dream.
flip, but
No.
I couldn't even do like a backdrop nowadays. I feel like.
I have a trampoline at home in my backyard, so I'm like, I got this. I am
so you're a professional.
Yeah.
I am professional, but not. Now it's going to be putting me out of my game. And we have a live show in New York City. You're not in, you're West Coast. But we have a live show in New York City, and I'm like, do I have to wear this freaking boot when I'm going and doing a live show in New York City?
not.
I really hope by then I can just put on real shoes.
When is your live show?
April 13th in Manhattan.
Nice. Okay. And there's still tickets that people can
Oh,
buy?
yeah.
Yes.
If you want to see,
sweet.
if you're in New York and you're looking for something to do, it's Thursday night, April 13th at 7 p.m.
If you just search Eventbrite, She's All Batch, it is the first thing that pops
okay.
up, and then you can get tickets. That's what I've been doing to send the link to friends and stuff.
Yeah. So we're recording
Nice.
a live episode and doing what we normally do throughout our show. We have a guest who's hopefully still coming.
Yeah.
A Bachelor alum.
Yeah, I mean, we've already announced it. So it's Olivia Caridi.
Oh, I love
Yeah, we
Olivia
love her,
Caridi.
but she's in Paris
Yeah.
right now, and we have this weird paranoia that like she forgot, and we're just getting painfully close. So I'm like, can you just write back? And so I'm like, okay, good.
Confirmed. See you then. Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually going to be in New York, but on the 19th.
Ah.
So.
Oh, no, I just missed it. Well, change your
I
flight
know,
and
I
come
know.
Yeah.
a few days earlier.
It was really fun to podcast with you both. Thanks for sharing all of the hot goss. Where can the listeners find you and anything else that you two want to plug?
Yeah, well, She's All Batch is on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And if you listen to She's All Batch and want to come hang with us, we are podcasting live in New York City, like we just said. Yeah, but if you want to listen to She's All Batch podcast, get all the hot goss for about the Bachelor franchise, that She's All Batch is available wherever you get your podcasts.
I love that. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for
This
having
was so
us.
much
This
fun.
is
You're
so
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Stephanie and Jackie for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow along with me on socials at RTBB Podcast and share this episode with a friend. You can also leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/RTBP Podcast. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.